Welcome to The Fast and the Curious, and this episode is Fast and Curious. This is going to be the most confusing episode in our series.
Oh, yeah.
And probably the most confusing movie to talk about. But we'll figure it out, and we'll get through it. So if you're new to the series, which I don't know why you're jumping in on the fourth episode, but if you don't get the premise yet, I'm watching all the Fast and the Furious movies for the first time, and Chris is a bit of a expert on them.
I'm watching them for like the 17th time, or
Yeah.
depending on the movie. The first one I've seen like 70 something times, and this one I've seen probably once and a half, maybe. So this one I remember. I think I remember the least about this one, so it'll be fun to rewatch. I'm excited to rewatch it and see what I think now.
So this is the first one with The Rock, right?
No, that's
no.
the next one.
Next one's the first one with The Rock.
This is the first
Okay.
one. This is the first one with all the original cast back. Not
All
like
right.
all, but like a majority of the original cast is back in this one.
The gang gets back together for one last ride.
Yeah, and this is the one where they start like, well, you know what? Actually, I don't know if they knew they're gonna make more after this one or not. I think they did. I think this is the one where they're like, okay, we're gonna like launch, like bring it all back together, like launch these storylines and make more movies out of this. So it's like I said in the previous episodes, this is where it's gonna start looking more like a traditional movie series as opposed to like, here's this first really well done standalone story. And here's kind of a fuck off one with one of the characters, and he's a secret agent now. And then there's another third one with some hillbilly kid we've never met before, and they're all the same. Like, you know, like this is where it's like, okay, they're all under the fucking same umbrella, and we're going somewhere with it. So
Is Ludacris in this one?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that one.
But oh shit. Who's in Too Fast, Too Furious? He's not in it, right?
Tyrese Gibson.
Yeah, Tyrese Gibson, or Tyrese as he is in the credits. He's not in this one, right? Like he's only in Too Fast, isn't that correct?
Well,
or is it a spoiler if that like he makes a cameo or something later on?
A spoiler or not?
Okay.
Certain characters come back, and certain like. I mean, a good amount of characters from the movies come back, and it's always interesting to see them like cross paths and stuff. But it's like I don't remember which one was the first one. Some of the characters, I don't think he's in this one, and I'm like 50-50 that Ludacris is in this one.
Okay, so we'll just see. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong. I might be already losing my Fast and Furious cred.
Yeah,
they're gonna take my fan card.
Like you admitted, this is the one you've watched the least. Yeah. So. It's kind of like if I was trying to tell you like line for line what happens in Attack of the Clones, I'd be like, I don't know.
Oh, I know plenty of lines for Attack of the Clones, pal. But the people that are in this one, if I remember correctly, I believe this is the introduction of. Okay, do you remember in the Transformers series? I know it's already a stretch.
Mark Wahlberg.
But bear with me. No.
Oh, okay.
The weird, annoying, like racist little shithead robots.
Like so. You're talking about the movies? Or
yeah,
whatever?
The Transformers movies.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of those.
Oh,
and we're not doing a series on them.
You're so blessed. Yeah. Okay, but anyway.
I saw that they were going to rape my childhood, and I said, no, thank you.
There are two characters in Transformers movies. I think they come in like the second one, because I don't really think I saw anyone past the second one. And they're just like weird, almost like racial caricature, like the Jamaican almost or something. I don't know.
So are they in this movie?
Two characters that are almost exactly like them, except not robots, are in this movie. So get ready for that.
So then I'm going to say that this one, well, all right, first of all, I think it's safe to say that this one is back in LA. Is that correct? I'm going to say that this one's back in LA.
Okay, I'll let you have your predictions. Yeah.
I'm going to say this one's back in LA. Obviously, like, our hero of the film, or at least the first two.
Yes.
He's going to be back, off doing his street racing stuff. He's no longer a shitty cop, and he's just off having fun. And I think then there's some sort of reunion with him and Vin Diesel. I'm going to say that they don't get along at first, but then maybe they like quickly become chums because they realize that they're on the same side this time around. And they have a common enemy, and I'm going to say it's the Russians.
Okay. I wish you were closer to the mark than you are, because that sounds like a fun movie.
It's like Rocky 4, but with street racing.
With cars, yeah.
They're driving these nice, like, really like tricked out cars through the mountains and stuff.
If he stalls out, he stalls out.
Yeah, Vin Diesel should have thrown in the towel.
It's
Or I
like-
guess Paul Walker should have thrown in the towel if he would have been Rocky in this
Yes. Yeah,
situation,
yeah.
and Vin Diesel would have been
Diesel's the one getting
Apollo.
bludgeoned to death. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that we just picked this entirely separate movie.
Yeah. So we're gonna go watch Fast and Furious, and we'll be right back.
You didn't even say hello to YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. Alrighty, and we're back. So
Fuck you.
So we just watched Brian drive off into the sunset, giving Dom the finger as he goes and does 25 years in prison. But yeah, so Fast and the Furious. Fast and Furious.
It's fucked.
It doesn't help that our name of our show is so close to the whole thing too. It makes it all very confusing.
Yeah.
So I would say this is so far in the ones I've seen, I would go 1, 4, 3,
Okay.
2, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Huh. I feel like I don't know. I feel like for some reason, like weirdly, I think I still put Tokyo Drift above this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to hear like why you put it there though.
I just, to me, Tokyo Drift is a good movie about people with cars, and I feel like this is more of a return to like the characters that I was interested in the first one.
That's for sure.
So it's like I'm not like really necessarily in it for like the like drifting and stuff. So it's like, I don't know. We talked about that on the Tokyo Drift thing, but I was never like fully invested in any of the characters in it. So I don't know. This is more of a return to form, I guess. And then 2 is just like ridiculous, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's definitely, I mean, it feels like it's like more of just laying the groundwork for future movies. You know, they're like, all right, we need to figure out how to like retrofit this into like a series. So let's like do this like prequel, but like not really kind of thing. And like, it feels like it's just kind of like trying to like piece stuff together to then make it so that they could just go from there.
Yeah. I want to comment on that more specifically, but like I'm afraid of spoiling things. So like I'm gonna have to try to remember what I want to say for when we've gotten through some of the other ones.
Okay.
But yeah, it's tough. That's what's tough about this. Where like one person has seen everything, the other person's like only commenting on what they just saw. Yeah, I like a lot to talk about with this one. So like, if you have any other like opinions you wanted to like,
my only other thing that I really wanted to bring up was, why did both of them end up being drivers for Draga?
because
I thought the thing was like win the race and get the spot.
yeah, what that was remember the scene where Brian like plants drugs on the Dwight fucker and gets him out of there. Then they needed another spot.
So they need okay.
And then he was the guy
I completely
that had come in
forgot about
second.
that.
Yeah,
About the dirty cop stuff that they did.
yeah. So that's why he
okay.
Yeah, which is funny. Like we point out, like during it's like normally like people are, you know, like that's like a legitimate issue in real life. It's like corrupt cops, but in this movie it's like a smile. Like it's like you know another stick, right? Like
he got him.
Yeah, it's like a triumphant story beat that the cop plants drugs on an innocent man. He's not innocent, but like you know what I'm saying. Yeah. It's just funny. Well, first off, like this is the one. Like I said, this is where it starts to shift direction in the series a little bit. Like okay, it's kind of an in between point because like the actual events of the movie are still like somewhat plausible and like believable for these characters. So Brian being now in the FBI, and Dom getting wrapped up in like Letty got killed while working for this like drug cartel, and now he wants to go after them. Like that's not too out of the realm of possibility for the characters that were established in the first one. That's not too ridiculous. But like the actual physical events that happen through the telling of the story are starting to get ridiculous. Because like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I don't think that there's really anything wildly unrealistic in any of the first three movies.
Well, I don't know. There's some stuff in 2 that you're like,
I just don't remember. I mean, even, it's been a little while since we watched it.
Yeah. There's there's nothing to the level of the like tanker flipping and like that opening scene. There's nothing to that level of ridiculousness.
I mean, okay, let me phrase it this way. In 2, like, it's like normal levels of action movie ridiculous. Like where they ramp the car off the thing and land on the boat.
Yeah.
Or they drive over the bridge as it's like raising up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, it's a little like fantastical, but like that happens in all action movies. And it's like it's still like a part of you. It's like, okay, if the timing were exactly right, then like you could pull that off, whatever. That shit where the fucking oil tank is like on fire and flipping, and then like Dom like perfectly like drives on her. It's like, no, just no. Like it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Like, and then some of the shit at the end there, like the idea of like the tunnels through the mountain to get through like the border is cool. I just hate it because it made them resort to the CGI cars again.
Yeah, like
it's so obvious in these, at least in this one, like the special effects are not to the level where you can get away with that and it's acceptable. Like everything where they had to do CGI cars and like the CGI oil tanker, it was just so obvious that it was just like it ruined everything, all the tension of the moment. And like what's supposed to be a big triumphant thing at the end with Dom killing Phoenix is like laughable. Because it's like CGI car flying through the thing. And like I don't know. It just doesn't work when you can't like feel it. Like,
well, yeah, and it's like, it's definitely, it's that era of CGI where everything looks close, but what it looks like is like an Uncharted game where you're like, you would go, wow, those graphics are amazing. But when you put it next to real life, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's obviously not real life.
Yeah, when they're in the tunnel and the one car skids and it like bends in half as it hits the thing. It's like the hokiest looking thing of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's just like there were even moments, especially in that end bit there, where it's like CGI, and then they come flying out of the tunnel and they have like the real car rolling and crashing, and it looks so good. Yeah. And it's like, man, like in this series, like you really have, not that I mean, who the fuck am I? Like they're gonna do whatever they want, but like I feel like you really have to stick to like the practical car effects for these movies to work. You know, like it's just like it looks so fucking good when you can tell they're driving and crashing real cars as opposed to like the computer stuff. It just really, and like granted, like effects have gotten better since then, and this one's aged by 8 years, you know, like so maybe it looked better at the time, but it just like that stuff really like sticks in my craw with these fucking movies. Like you're invested, and then like a fucking very obviously animated car crashes and you're just like, okay, like I don't buy it, so it doesn't mean anything, you know?
Yeah, it's and I mean it's kind of like the same reason to relate it to another series. It's kind of the same reason that like the Daniel Craig James Bond movies are one of the reasons that they're so good is because they're a return to practical effects.
Yeah.
So like all the over the top stuff that we got with Pierce Brosnan where it was like a lot of CGI is now like scaled back, and it's like, all right, let's do stunt people and stunt drivers and all this stuff, and like let's try to, you know, bring us back home again a little bit.
And like that argument about like the effect of like what it does to the viewer when it's like obvious CGI is kind of the same thing as my point about like where the action starts to get ridiculous in this one, because like it takes the tension out of things, because instead of thinking like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen to Dom and Brian, you're thinking like, oh, that's fake, you know, like it instantly pulls you back. And like, and I'm not like some fucking like fuddy-duddy. Like I can be down for ridiculous action shit. Like, and I think there are moments in the later ones that are fucking ridiculous, but they're fun ridiculous. Yeah. The ones in this movie are just like annoying ridiculous to me, at least. I don't know how you felt about it.
You know, they didn't bother me. Like I'm not gonna say like, oh, I thought that was very realistic.
Yeah.
But like, it never bothered me when the CGI was bad, just because if you watch any movie from this, like the 2000s, that decade of the 2000s or whatever, all the CGI looks like that.
I was referring to like the over the top action shit, like the oil tanker flipping over.
Oh well, yeah. Honestly, no. Like, well, so that doesn't even bother me. Okay. Just because like I'm willing to suspend disbelief for a little bit.
I guess I can if it's like, okay, it either has to be a plausible stunt with CGI or a ridiculous stunt with practical effects.
Yeah.
I think if it's a ridiculous stunt with CGI, I can't do it. Like, because like
it's just too much?
the tanker was too visibly fake,
Yeah.
and the scenario was too ridiculous. So I couldn't wrap it. Because like for example, there's a scene in I think 6 that when we were in the theater. Like my brother, who is even more so, like he hates when these movies get all like action movie and shit. Like he groaned, and I was like, I thought it was fine. And I think it was because like one of those two things was met. Either it was like I think the situation was like ridiculously fake, but like the effects looked good enough that it didn't stick out as being like totally asinine to me. I don't know. But now that that's out of the way, there's some stuff about this movie that I really, really fucking like. Like it's kind of. This movie is a good example of why I've stuck with the series as a whole. Is like even though there's things that like annoy me, there's like just enough with like the characters that I like, and they find these like cool little twists to put on the characters and the typical scenarios of the series that like are just like really like fun and interesting. So like this one, for example, like the race where they're trying to get on the team, right? And we've seen that before. And we've seen tons of races in these movies, but this is the first one where it's like, hey, who's going to close off the street? I'm like, we're not closing off the street. You have to fucking race with like real traffic going around. And granted, you see like people racing through traffic in Tokyo Drift, but that's like a different situation entirely. This is like, it's like they find like a little thing in like every movie to be like, you've seen this before, but now this is different. And like, I think it's really fun and cool. And I liked all the stuff with like the characters, obviously, like, so like the dynamic when you come into this one where, now Brian is like even more deep in the weeds of like being like in the law, and like Dom's even further on the outside of it, and like they're clashing over that. And like when he first meets Mia again, there's that tension and like the stuff with him and Dom, and like that stuff's really interesting. And like him being like, I lied to everybody, and it was the hardest thing ever to do.
Yeah.
And then her question about like, are you a good guy pretending to be a bad guy, or a bad guy pretending to be a good guy? It's like, man, like I know these movies get fucking trolled. Like there is some good writing in this shit, and like the whole thing where like, in that race I mentioned earlier, where, it was the kind of the cool moment where Dom has been the superior like driver and racer the whole time, right? And then Brian's gonna beat him like clean, but then like, because he's learned and grown and whatever. But then because of Dom's like rage about Letty, he cheats and like fucks him up, and then it's just fucking
he does a little heel turn.
Yeah, it's good, it's good stuff, and like. The whole thing of like there's just something interesting. They put the characters that we like in interesting scenarios. Like the idea that like Dom and Brian both have to race to get into this crew, that they both want to be there for different reasons. And then once they're in the crew, they both have like reasons they could expose the other one, but they won't do it. Like Dom could expose Brian for being a cop, Brian could expose Dom for wanting revenge, like that whole thing. Like I think there's some really cool, interesting stuff in here. And like I don't know, like the scene. Well, there's another like downside for it for me. I don't know how you felt about it. I feel like as much as I like certain elements of it, but like I don't know that I really like the plot that much as far as them trying to go get revenge for Letty, because the Letty stuff feels hollow to me. Like it doesn't feel like it means as much as it should.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I almost spent the entire movie feeling like that was a subplot, even though it was supposed to be the main thing.
Exactly. It doesn't feel.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like fleshed out. It doesn't feel like if you watch the first one and this one, it should be a huge deal.
Yeah.
That Letty's dead, and it really doesn't feel that way. Like it's kind of like, well, I mean, I guess Dom's upset, but he's also gonna flirt with other girls and smile when they ask for his phone number.
Yeah, that was like the weirdest part, is that he's on, like at the exact same time he's on a revenge trip, he's also like over it at the same time.
Yeah, and then he makes the weird flirty comment about like, I could appreciate a body no matter the make, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they have the really scene that works really well where, and that's what's so weird, is like it clashes, because at moments it is working, like where he's like describing his ideal woman to Gal Gadot's character Giselle. And she's like, it's nothing like me. And she goes, like, he's like, it ain't. Like that scene I felt like was good. Like, but then there's so many other moments where like Letty feels like an afterthought, and like, I don't know, like it doesn't really have the same like punch that it should.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the plot goes, another thing that stood out to me in this that I liked was that it's not all that dissimilar in like the idea with 2. So like there's a drug lord that they're trying to infiltrate and like bring into justice, right? and then you have to like get on, you have to do a race to get it into his ranks, and then you have to like run some fucking like errand for him, whatever. And like that's the pretty typical setup and formula for movies like that. But this one I felt like did a pretty different thing where like there's that setup, right? They have to get on his team, and then he has them like mealing drugs. But then like during that, like Dom like ruins the whole thing by like being the aggressor with this guy that he's seeking revenge on, and then they come away with the drugs.
Yeah.
And like then I'm having a hard time explaining it, because like then they're separate from the people that they're working for, and now there's kind of like this like stalemate, and then like it just feels like a very different way to approach that story, as opposed to like they're progressing through the ranks of this crime thing to like eventually get close enough to him to turn on him. It's like partway through they've already established like we're not on your fucking side, and then the movie takes a different route through the rest of the thing, and I thought that was cool too.
How many times do you think in the history of action movies has the line been uttered, "We're not so different, you and I"?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an annoying one, because a lot of times it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like, why did yeah, it was weird and like unnecessary, and like I don't know.
Because they are very different. Like, it's not even like it's such a like really like long reach that you have to take to actually go like, well, I guess they're both criminals in a way, so like like that's like the only thing. It's not like they have. It's not like, first of all, with the Draga character, it's not like they've necessarily fleshed him out enough that we would even understand like some like character traits that he would share with Dom. It's literally just we're both on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I guess, but I don't know.
Even then it's like Dom doesn't run drugs. Dom doesn't kill people until this movie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time we see him kill someone with the car. Brian shoots a bunch of people in that scene earlier, but that'd be a big difference. And then as far as the whole thing, like, you're not a hero, he like throws himself in the way of the car to save Giselle for no reason. Like it's a stretch to say that they're so not so different, you and I, that whole thing.
But you know, it's one of those tropes you have to check mark at some point.
Yeah. But there but there were like other like little lines that I felt like were fresh and I liked, like Brian's things like "sorry car" as he drives off through like the thing, and like I liked that, and I liked all the little throwbacks to the first movie. Like the majority of them felt like fun things to remember for fans, as opposed to like the member berries moments, like the kind of like Force Awakens syndrome where people felt like it was too similar and forced. Like the only moment that I felt a little bit of like a member berries vibe was when Mia stops him and is like, "You have to say grace, remember?" Yeah, like that felt a little bit like that. But as far as like the scene where they're in the parking garage and Brian's like, "You owe me a 10-second car now." Like, that whole thing felt like organic and nice. And
I think it helped that they were just callbacks instead of this movie was not similar to the first one. Like you were saying, really. If anything, it's similar to the second one.
Yes.
So because it's so different from the first one, the callbacks are like, oh, okay, yeah, like that still like brings us back in.
Yeah, they're just like nice little hallmarks, like the movie opening with like there's a tanker instead of a truck, but that going down the road and then like all the cars following, and like, you know, like there's little things that like that give you visual cues and stuff, but like they're not overly similar. It's definitely not a clone by any means, like the way Force Awakens has been accused of being a clone of New Hope or whatever. Couple other things were like, okay, like I said, I had lots of fucking
go ahead.
This movie, I felt like was the first one in the series that I noticed them doing some cool things, like visually specifically. Like there's some interesting lighting stuff, and there's one in particular that really stood out to me. They're inside like some kind of big truck that's carrying all their cars to go on the job for Braga, and Dom's car is like underneath something, and there's like lights coming in, and it's very like, have you seen him in Pitch Black?
No.
It's like very Pitch Black-esque, where like Riddick is like alone in like a cage. Like it felt like that, and like when the other two, when like Dom looks like he's sleeping, and the other two characters are like coming in, like that shot was really fucking like really cool looking. This was the second one in the series that Justin Lin directed, so I felt like after Tokyo Drift, where he kind of got his footing with the series, like he got to take some more like he got to like experiment a little bit more with stuff like that, and he started coming to his own. Because for a while there, that was like, it was his series. He directed like 3 in a row. So he got to really like get
Yeah.
comfortable and do stuff like that. That was cool. And then
He's also doing the rumored second Space Jam movie.
is he really?
According to IMDb, it says that he's going to direct Space Jam 2. However, as far as I know, Space Jam 2 is still like a rumor, not a real thing.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything to
So
confirm
it could be something where like someone just attached his name to it. They're
Yeah.
like, whatever. Here,
That'd be a weird choice, but I guess I'm for it. I don't know. He did
Yeah.
he did a good job on Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there was like one more thing I wanted to say, but now I forgot about it because we started talking about
Sorry.
Space Jam 2. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I do. Overall, I do like this one.
Yeah.
It had been a long time since I watched it, and it was the one I remembered the least. Like I said, I do like it. There's just like there's certain things in it that bother me. So that's why I feel like while the character stuff with the cast we're familiar with is really good, and that is what like
Yeah.
makes it like really work the best. There are elements of it that feel less like complete to me than Tokyo Drift does. Like even though Tokyo Drift might not reach this movie's highs, but it avoids the lows, and so it kind of like sneaks in for me at least as being like I can pick that one over this one a little bit, I think. But yeah, I don't know. How terrible, how laughably terrible was Vin Diesel's like last line?
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
actually,
I had no memory of that, and I loved it.
That over the top kill, with like the fact that he gets the front wheels of the car off the ground so he doesn't kill Brian.
Yeah,
and and just like rams the car, just like looks straight at the camera and just goes pussy.
it's so bad.
So
It's so bad. If he'd act like that in the first movie, I wouldn't be watching these.
yeah,
Like I would not have ever cared about any of these people. I would have been done with the woods. I don't know. I still don't remember the other thing I was gonna say, but I remember another point that stood out. Granted, they do still show at the end like, oh, he's gonna get out, but I like that they don't do the thing where like total happy ending, like he's exonerated.
like the judge is like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you kind of get the vibe that's what's gonna happen. Because like Brian has some pull, and like he helped bring down a criminal, and in a lot of movies like this, that's what happens. But they're like, good job, you're still going to fucking jail. Like you know, like I liked that.
It's like the well, never mind. I was gonna say a different movie, but then I realized it was probably spoilers.
Okay,
if
good
the
call.
person hadn't seen it, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so I liked that they did that, even if they then revealed that they're gonna fucking spring him out anyway.
I feel like so. Obviously, I don't know how the other ones after this play out. I feel like these movies are reaching a territory where you could enjoy them if you haven't seen the other ones, but I feel like to really appreciate them, you need to have seen them, you know? Like I feel like I don't know how it works, but I feel like a person going into like the movie theater to watch like one of like the random ones that come out later, and they're like they see like this like Dom and Brian thing going on, and they're like, I don't know, I guess whatever.
Yeah.
Like show me some cars flipping. Like I don't know. I feel like this is kind of, I feel like these movies might be what we're talking about when we talk about Marvel movies sometimes, where you might be able to like enjoy them, but to like really get what's going on, you need to like have seen, you need to do a little bit of homework.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, because like we talked about it on like some of the other episodes, but in my opinion, I think when I started noticing the world coming on board with this series was Fast 5. And I think a lot of people did do exactly what you're talking about, where they just came in off that without having seen the previous ones. And like, this is cool, but like there's tons of like little things that are in there for fans of the whole series that they kind of miss out on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you even noticed in this one, like there's a lot of things, like whether they're like moments or lines of dialogue or like whole characters that like are there for the fans of the series. Like the fact that Han's in the beginning of this, and like it's the whole thing of like, it's time for you to go off and do your own thing. And he's like, I've heard they're doing cool shit in Tokyo.
Yeah.
But, you know, like that's a throwaway thing if someone just comes into this fresh. But for someone else, it's actually kind of a very weighted moment. Because for one thing, it's like, oh, that's the movie I remember. But then there's also this dark side of like, oh, fuck, he goes there to die.
Yeah.
You know, like, and like there's lots of cool little, I mean, like Easter egg almost feels too like simple. Like, you know, like there's a lot in there for like diehard ride or die, as Letty would say, fans of the series. That you're right. I think a lot of the public misses out on, and maybe that's why they get the reputation of being just like dumb popcorn action movies because the people that are watching them now didn't spend the time with the characters and movies
Yeah.
that came beforehand to see that there's more complex things being played with sometimes.
Yeah, they're just going to see like cars get driven out of a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's fun too.
Well, no, I'm not knocking
No,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Like I'm on board. Like I love the action stuff.
Yeah. But I'm glad that you seem
Yeah.
to be appreciating these like the same way that I do, where it's like that stuff is fun, but like it's fun because you give a shit about Dom and Brian and Letty and Mia and whoever else, like like I said like early on, like they have earned a lot of fucking goodwill for me by establishing likable, interesting characters on the first movie that like I'll watch them do anything. Like,
well, because like the scene where Dom's going through all Letty's stuff and he like does the phone and it rings Brian's phone.
Yeah.
Like that scene would mean like almost nothing to you if you had not seen the previous ones.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
I still wish it meant more.
I know. No, they definitely could have done more with it, but it's it would be nothing if you didn't get that. So it's something, it's just like you miss like out on like a good portion of what the movie's like about, you know? And then, but whatever. I guess if people are enjoying them, that's like really what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they do seem to be enjoying them because they're making a fuckload of money on the fucking series. But so I guess like in summation, even though I had a fuckload of criticisms, like I fucking liked it. I liked this fourth entry in the series.
On your second and a half
rewatch,
viewing of it.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So if you liked watching us talk about Fast and the Furious and all that stuff, subscribe on YouTube in a little button
somewhere.
And check out the if for some reason you haven't watched the previous episodes, you can check out those. Those are all on YouTube.
There's also little hallmarks for Fast and the Curious fans that are put in there, and you're just not appreciating.
There's all
it
sorts of fun stuff.
episodes.
Yeah. So really diehard Fast and the Curious fans will know.
Our writer dies.
But of course, subscribe, and we're just going to keep going through this. We're going to go through the whole series.
We might even do the short film mini features that were done in between some of these movies that I didn't know existed until a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that might be fun.
So we'll end up throwing those in there probably too. So we're gonna exhaust the Fast and the Furious.
That was good bad.
I know, I'm pretty clever. Yeah. But yeah, so we appreciate it. Let us know in the comments what you think of Fast and Furious, and keep the discussion going. So the next movie, is Fast 5.
Yes.
I was thinking as we were watching this, I have no idea what I'm going to name that.
Oh shit, you're right.
Because we went hard on this whole thing. That they're all going to be like Too Fast, Too Curious, and Fast and the Curious Tokyo Drift. So now I'm just like, fuck, what am I going to...
Oh, damn.
I feel like I might just need to like cop out and call it Fast and Curious 5.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, we'll try to come up with something.
Yeah. I'll have to really think
about it. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good catch.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. You'll find out when that episode comes out.
How stoked are you to finally see The Rock come into these?
For those of you who are really following the character study that is Fast and the Curious, you'll know that I'm a huge Dwayne Johnson fan.
The fucker asks about The Rock every episode. It's like, yeah, this is great now, but when does The Rock come in?
And so I'm very, very ready to see The Rock. I'm very excited about it. Watch, he's gonna show up and I'm gonna hate his character. Yeah, I have no idea what's gonna happen with the next one, so I'm gonna have to work on my essay for the following episode.
Yeah,
decide like the character arcs and the inclusion of the WWE champion Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
You actually were pretty close on this one about like them like having the beef at first, but a common enemy, and it wasn't bad.
I mean, I know some stuff. And it was in LA for a time.
Yes, I just remember that the bulk of it took place out of the country.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't.
And Phoenix had a hammer and sickle tattoo for some reason.
Yeah, you're right. So you weren't even that far off on the Russian thing. Yeah.
I'm like a psychic that's really bad at their job. Everything's very, very blurry for me.
Yeah, but you caught it.
Yeah.
It was there a little bit.
But yeah, so thanks for watching, and we will return with whatever we're gonna call the Fast 5 episode.
Pussy.